Hello and welcome to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomas Garza, and I have a very special guest for you today. Joining me from Coral Springs, Florida, is a longtime Course in Miracles student, instructor, and group leader, MarBeth Dunn. Now, MarBeth and I met a year ago and had a wonderful conversation about A Course in Miracles and the impact that it has had on both of our lives. So I want to have MarBeth come on today and talk to you about her experience with the course. MarBeth, welcome. It's wonderful to have you.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here with you, Tomas. You have such great energy.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, you do too. And you know, what really struck me about our conversation a year ago was how deeply you have been impacted by A Course in Miracles and this thought system. So, for those of us tuning in here, how did you find A Course in the first place?
Okay, well, here's the story. Here's the scoop. I was living in Haiti. I lived in Haiti for 17 years as an artist, and I went through like something like seven coups d'etats. I was there under Baby Doc Duvalier. I don't know if any of our viewers remember that, but it was a very tumultuous time. And I was a very unhappy person. I was depressed. I was in a very difficult relationship with my husband. My health was bad. I had very severe asthma, and there we were in the middle of all of these coups. And so the political situation was very unstable, and I had a tourist business as an artist and had a couple of gift shops at the beach. So I was definitely ripe for change, and I'd been seeking transformative help for many years. So I had read all kinds of self-help books, and we didn't quite have the explosion in self-help that we've had more recently. But there were definitely self-help books, and I was reading using the I Ching, which was the Chinese book of changes, Buddhist chanting, self-hypnosis, Dianetics, Idetics. I was trying everything because I knew that there had to be a way that was going to cure me, heal me. And then a friend of mine showed up in Haiti visiting another friend of mine, and he brought A Course in Miracles for my friend, and I borrowed it before she even had a chance to crack the book open. I grabbed it and I started reading. I was desperate. And so I started reading. It was the language of the text. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the text. The
Wow.
language is, it can be a little challenging, and it was way over my head. But I was pulled in. And especially the part where it said you don't have to understand it or believe in it, just do it. I did it. And my friend kept asking me for the book back, and I wasn't giving it back to her.
Um,
My life transformed. Just, it was incredible. I was reading in bed one morning, I was reading the course, and I suddenly had this aha that my thoughts created my reality.
okay.
And that wasn't even the reality, but the illusions that I was experiencing. And it was just this amazing experience. I went from being a victim, feeling like all these things had happened to me and I was blaming everybody for my issues. I suddenly started to take responsibility. Wait a minute. I can look at this whole different way. I can choose to be peaceful. I can ask the Holy Spirit for help. Well, my marriage transformed because when you bring the Holy Spirit into your relationship, He changes it.
Mhm.
And I didn't know this. I hadn't read that far in the text. And all of a sudden, I found myself expressing things. Now, I was brought up that you just didn't express your emotions. You just kind of pushed it all down and you never shared any of that with anybody else. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
expressing my feelings to my former husband. And anyway, I was guided to leave him for 5 days, and then I was guided to go back again. And when I did, the whole relationship had transformed. and we reaffirmed our marriage vows. And it's just story after story. My health improved. Now we had this whole coup d'etat thing happening in the political upheaval.
Yeah.
People arrived on my doorstep from France, and
Mm.
they commissioned me to create color note cards for them. And they were not unique for them. I could use them for myself. And they ended up sponsoring a trip that we took after we reaffirmed our marriage vows. We went to Omega Institute and took a training on A Course in Miracles.
Okay.
So everything was just conspiring. All these miracles were flowing. And it was just amazing. That was my introduction to the course. And it is the basis of everything that I do in my energy healing because I understand it through the lens of A Course in Miracles.
Okay. This is wonderful. So you experienced all of these, well, massive
Yeah.
transformations as a result
Massive.
of picking up the course. Now,
Mhm.
was it difficult for you to get out of your own way at first and allow all of this to come in?
Actually, no,
No.
because we had signed up to do this week-long training in the Course in Miracles at Omega Institute,
Mhm.
and Omega was fairly new at that time. It had been a children's camp, and we were taking the course in one of the dorms. They had mattresses all over the floor, and we had 6 hours a day, if you can imagine this, taught by a former, I don't know if he was former, he was a math teacher. I mean, we are talking dry and trying to stay awake. It was
Okay.
very challenging,
Mm.
but it was really amazing. And in order to prepare to go there, we felt we had to read the book, to read the text. So I was reading 3 hours a day of A
Oh,
Course in Miracles,
mm.
and my vibrational frequency changed. I couldn't watch movies anymore. They were just, we didn't relate. I was in a whole different place, and I just felt so connected to God, and I felt like I was riding Spirit's coattails, just
Yes.
completely supported and sheltered, and it was just amazing.
Mm, yes. Well, it's really interesting because some people describe this as difficult to get into. And you mentioned the language of the text, but if you're reading it for 3 hours a day, well, that sounds like quite a lot. That sounds like a graduate school
It is.
course.
It is, and the thing is I was reading it out loud because I was reading it to my former husband.
I see.
And so, and there are times, now because I'm not reading it 3 hours a day, but I am leading a study group. And so I'm exploring it in a different way. But I do find that I have resistance. We have resistance that shows up.
Yeah.
And and here I am leading this group, so I have the responsibility
Mhm.
of really being explanatory and cognizant of what I'm reading.
Mhm.
And it's just interesting to explore that resistance. But again, I have tools. I can release it and I can move into the resistance. And I think the thing is to make it a priority. And the way I see it is it's like a pyramid. So, we have our life going on, but if you at the peak, you have your relationship to everything that's going on in your so-called life. But
Mhm.
at the peak of the pyramid, I see God, and I just see God in the middle of everything. And when you put that perspective and you have to put God first. That's the thing. And then we have these egos.
Mhm.
And when you start to go into, well, my connection with God, your ego is like, oh, what are you doing? You don't want to do that. Look, you're going to miss out on all this other stuff.
Mhm. Back to your Twitter feed. Come on, quickly.
Right?
Right?
Right.
Mhm.
Back on Facebook. Oops, I got another email.
Mhm. Beautiful.
I shut my phone on do not disturb. That's how we do it because otherwise there's so many more disturbances. I mean, I was living on the island of Haiti. We didn't have internet when I first started into A Course in Miracles. not only did we not have internet, we didn't have cable. I mean, we may have, but it was in Creole or French, and
Mhm.
I'm more comfortable in English. So we would frequent the video store and pick up movies. So we didn't have that constant media feed of the phone or whatever. But you can actually detach from the phone. It's not as painful as it sounds.
Mm, it's true. It's true, everybody out there. It's not. No, MarBeth, when you're leading a group and you find yourself getting sucked back into or hooked back into ego viewpoints, what techniques or what works for you to remind yourself and bring yourself back?
Well, that's a really great question, Tomas. And what I find is what I did way back then is every second we have the opportunity to make a choice. We're
Mhm.
either going to choose the ego or we're going to choose the Holy Spirit. So, and the course is on a couple of different levels. We have the God level, and then we have the physical level
Sure.
here. So what I do is when I notice that, uh-oh, I got sucked into something else, I go to here, help me see this a different way, help me make a different choice.
Mhm.
Because it's all about choosing peace in the moment.
Yes.
And what are we doing when we go to the phone and when we start reading the news feed, when we get caught up in Twitter or Instagram? We're basically diverting ourselves. We're leaving the here and now. We're leaving our pivotal point of power. We're just, you know, squirrel. We're just squirreling, and we don't have to do that. We can choose. Like, okay, I just noticed I got into a squirrel move, and so I'm going to choose to be more peaceful now. I'm going to choose to be in a God place.
Yeah.
Do this. I have that choice. I have that power.
Yes. Right. We all have that power. That's
Yeah.
a wonderful thing about the entire teaching that I think really resonates with all of us that are
Mhm.
practicing it. So, MarBeth, when you're leading groups, do you get a lot of people that come to you and express that they don't feel that they're doing it right because they get hooked back into squirreling or traditional patterns of behavior? Do you get that a lot?
Um, my group just started a few weeks ago, so I have not heard that yet. In my group, it's been like, where are we supposed to be reading? What page are we on? Should we be reading what page? So and everybody's on a different somehow in a different text, even though I tried to I tried to make everything uniform, but it didn't happen, and that's okay because for me, the group is basically teaching the foundation, teaching the ideas of the course, which are so powerful, and so many of the course was founded. Well, it was channeled back in the late '60s, early '70s, and things have changed quite a bit. So many of the teachings of the course have moved into the mainstream
Mhm. Yes.
or
Yeah.
they've been actually distorted. Some of them have been distorted into the mainstream, and so um, I think it's really important. Yeah, just read the text on your own. This is a self-study book, so
Mhm.
read it, and we'll discuss anything that you've had an issue with, and and we'll see where that goes. Because and I always invite the Holy Spirit into the group because somebody is a lot wiser than me.
No. Right. Yeah, we just think we know all the answers, yeah. So, then, MarBeth, tell us a little bit about the groups then that one has just started, and, how else are you involved in helping people work through the course?
Okay, first I have a Course in Miracles study group, which is on two platforms,
Mhm.
and it's very easy to register for it. Can I just give the link, or we can post it below,
We can
whatever?
certainly post it in the comments, or you're welcome to mention it here as well.
Okay. It's bit.ly, so it's bit.ly// capital A, capital C, capital I, capital M, and capital G in group.
Okay.
So it's bit.ly ACIM group, and that will just take you right over. You can register. The group is absolutely free.
Wonderful.
And and then the other thing that I'm doing that's based on A Course in Miracles is the World Miracle Peace Experiment. I did this 3 years ago, 2018 in April. I received the guidance that I needed to create an experiment, a meditation experiment.
Okay.
Now, I'm not the first person who has done a meditation experiment. John Hagelin did that with the Transcendental Meditation Group in the 80s. He took people to Washington, and they physically meditated in Washington,
Right.
D.C. There's a group of them,
Yeah.
and the level of violence dropped dramatically. Then another one of his experiments, he took people to Israel, and everybody in Israel, depending upon the amount of people that were meditating that day, level of violence dropped in Lebanon. They were in a war, and the fatalities dropped over 70% while they were meditating there. I
Mhm.
mean, we're talking dramatic. But what I wanted to do was more closely to Dr. Lynn McTaggart's work, where we would meet in what she calls the field. For me, it's the field of love and peace and miracles. And we meet in the field and we focus on bringing love and peace to the earth, the whole earth. And then we focused at that time on the Middle East. And we had independent statistics from the ACLED. And during the period of our meditation, the level dropped. It was beyond 20%. I would say maybe more like 25%. Um, and, I thought that was very significant because the number of people that would meditate with me on a daily basis just, it fluctuated. So, it's very hard to monitor that when you're doing that over the web. I had no idea, how
Sure.
many people were there physically and how many people watched the meditation after. So now we started on Sunday, and at the worldpeaceexperiment.com, you can go and join me at noon Eastern every day,
Okay.
and 7 minutes a day to world peace. And we're focusing on the United States because we've had so much disharmony here. So it seemed like that was a really good place to focus.
All right. Yes. And for those of you joining us from around the world, it literally is an international audience. MarBeth and I are both in the United States. And as is well documented, we've had a time of it for
Yes.
a while now. And we'll leave it at that. But this is the World Miracle Peace Experiment, and we'll put the links and all of the relevant information here in the comments for you. So, MarBeth, one more thing before we wrap up. I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear from you. Is there a particular part or a particular component of A Course in Miracles that really strongly resonates with you?
Yes, I
Okay.
have many lessons that I absolutely love. I think it's hard to choose my favorite from that, but I would say I am oneself is probably my favorite. And I had when I first really became connected with it, I was having a big disagreement with my former husband, and I just kept as a mantra, I am one self united with my creator, one with every aspect of creation, limitless in power, limitless in peace. You are one self with me, united with our creator in this self. I honor you because of what I am and what he is, who loves us both as one. And I just kept saying it over and over as a mantra. Everything shifted with,
Wonderful.
yeah, and just totally focused on that. So I memorized it, became one of my
Mhm.
favorite go-tos. But there's so many amazing lessons
There.
and so many amazing parts of the text. You know, they're they're just all. It's all so powerful. You could just take one paragraph of it and read it through and get your understanding of it, and then you read it a month later, and suddenly you've gotten it at a whole different level.
Yes.
And then you read it another month later or a year later, and it's like you've just gone up. that
Mhm.
circular staircase. You are just going up with it in, yeah,
It's
with the
beautiful.
beam.
It is up-leveling and it's constant, yes. So,
Mhm.
well, I wanted to ask you that, so thank you for sharing that, because there's so much that's powerful and beneficial for someone here in the course. And again, thank you all for tuning in. If you have specific questions or comments, please feel welcome to leave them here in the comment thread. Both MarBeth and I will go back on here on Enlightened World Network after the live stream. And if you're catching the replay and you want to say hi, drop a comment here and we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can. And MarBeth, this has been really wonderful. I'm so happy that you've joined me here today. Thank you for coming.
Of course, I will. I love it. You know, this is one of my absolute, if not the most absolute favorite topic.
Mhm. Well, I can completely relate to that, and it's definitely my most favorite topic. And it's always fun to hear from people who have A Course in Miracles as whether it's a newfound centerpiece or whether it's been the centerpiece for a long time, like yourself. It's had this be the centerpiece of their spiritual practice, literally informing everything in our lives. So, MarBeth, again, thank you so much. And thank you all for tuning in. This has been A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. And we'll see you all back here again tomorrow. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's a huge commitment.